Studying abroad. Studying abroad is probably one of the most underrated components of the college experience. There are many reasons why, one being the cost, two being the many issues abroad, and three, just the fear of the unknown. However, going abroad is something that you should consider, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to go over a couple of the different components and things you should know if you're considering. By definition, studying abroad is the act of a student pursuing educational opportunities in a country other than their own. This can include primary, secondary, or post-secondary students. So whether you're a graduate student or undergrad, you can study abroad. Now the key is the duration of time that you want to spend abroad. You can go during spring break, you can go for the entire summer, which is roughly 13 weeks, or you can go for half the summer. You can go during the fall or the spring semester. It kind of depends on what you're trying to do. If your intentions are to see a new country, then you don't have to be there for a whole semester. If your intentions are to learn another language, then maybe you want to stay there for a minimum the duration of one semester. Some students also go for research. If they're pursuing their doctorate degree, then depending on the subject of their dissertation, they will go abroad to collect data from that respective country. So let's talk about the benefits of studying abroad. One of the great ways to learn another language is by going abroad. Depending on what major you choose, you may be obligated to take a foreign language. And if you are, then why not learn it fluently? Many students choose to go abroad so they can master this new language, and it makes them stand out a lot more, especially on their resume. So learning a new language is an excellent opportunity to go abroad and kind of solidify what you learned in the classroom. On top of taking classes at your respective institutions, you'll be expected to take a class also abroad to kind of reinforce the language and make sure that you're learning it correctly, as opposed to learning some type of slang or some type of variation of what they want you to learn. Studying abroad provides the opportunity to travel. And this is very important. Take it from me, guys. When you get older and you have a wife and kids, it's hard to travel like you would like. So as an undergrad, why not travel? Especially if the university is willing to help finance the cost. It only makes sense. How many times can you travel to Japan or China or South Africa? A lot of times the university is willing to help cover the cost. So why not go out there and experience the world? Culture is very important. And a lot of times we get caught up with our personal lives, whether it's school, work, family, that we rarely get the opportunity to learn about other people's culture. So studying abroad allows you to kind of remove yourself from your current situation. So from your school, from your job, and go abroad and just live in a new environment, in a new space, and learn about other people's culture. And in turn, chances are, when you return back to your home, you'll appreciate what you have just a little bit more. So culture is very important, and traveling abroad is a great way to learn about other people's culture and learn from their perspective and see how they see things. Next, studying abroad will allow you to work with different types of people in different settings. When you get into the workplace, the clientele more than likely that you're going to deal with, it may be diverse, and you have to learn how to work with diversity. So going abroad will give you that excellent opportunity to learn how to work with different types of people. And it'll look amazing on your resume to show your future employer that you went abroad, you're willing to step outside your comfort zone and try different things. So guys, studying abroad is an amazing opportunity, and I strongly recommend that you visit your study abroad office on your respective campus just to get more information so you have it on hand. So what are the concerns as it relates to going abroad? And number one is safety. With so much going on in our world today, safety is an issue. However, I had many students go abroad, and they visited multiple countries. In fact, a couple of my students did something called Semester at Sea, where you live on a cruise ship and you travel to 13, 14 countries for the duration of a semester. And their testimony when they returned, it wasn't really the safety. Even though they said safety could have been an issue, they put themselves in certain situations, but the way the programs are set up, you're always with a guide, you're with your classmates, so you're never by yourself. And if you are by yourself, that could be an issue in any country, even in America. So safety is an issue, but parameters are put in place to ensure that you guys are in the best hands possible. Distance from support network. So depending on where you go to school and where you live, you won't be close to your parents anymore. You won't be close to your best friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever the case. So that's going to be an issue because you're going to miss them. And if something does happen, if you're going through something difficult, then you won't have that support system readily available. Can you call them? Can you FaceTime them? Of course you can. But there's nothing like knowing that you can go home whenever you want. And when you study abroad, that's not really the case. Health is an issue also, and again, it kind of depends on what country you go to, but if you go to a third world country, the water can be an issue. Many times on my trips to Mexico, the water is always an issue, so we have to bring our own bottled water there. But also you have to deal with issues pertaining to diseases, but before you go abroad, we make sure that all of our students, and I'm sure your institutions do the same, they make sure that they have the necessary shots so when they go abroad, they'll be okay. Language is always an issue, but if you're learning the language of that respective country, it shouldn't be as much as an issue as if you didn't know the language at all. And in many cases, in order to go abroad, you do have to take classes back at your home institution, and you'll take classes at the institution in the country that you're going to visit so you can pick up the language and also the culture. And finally, currency exchange. This is not really a big issue. It kind of depends on what country you go to, but in a lot of cases at the airport or areas very close to the airport, guests are allowed to exchange US dollars into the currency of the respective country. Not really a big issue, but it could be an issue if you don't plan accordingly. The process. Now, the process probably would vary depending on what institution you attend. However, for the most part, though, you really can't wake up and say, next semester I want to go to France. It doesn't work like that. You need to give it time, especially if you're planning on fundraising or soliciting money from the university in order to help cover your expenses. So it does take time. Try to give it at least 2 semesters, but definitely 1 semester. Also the paperwork. The paperwork takes time because you want to let your home institution and the institution that you're going to visit, they have to plan for your arrival and they have to make sure they can accommodate you. So it does take time. And on top of that, you want to learn the language if that's what you're into. So you probably want to take 2 semesters of a foreign language prior to going abroad if you really want to learn that language when you get there. Also, in most cases, there's a cohort. So you're not just going by yourself, you're going with a group of individuals from your institution as well as professors. So you guys tend to meet throughout the semester prior to going abroad. So again, you're not going as an individual, you guys are going as a cohort, and that's very important for safety, but also to enrich the learning experience. The cost. It does cost a lot of money to go abroad, guys. You're looking between roughly $4,000 to $7,000 depending on what country, depending on how long you want to stay at that country. Now, at most institutions, they're willing to help finance the cost. For some of my students who went to South Africa, their cost was roughly $4,000 and the institution provided $2,000, so 50% of the cost. On top of that, you can use your financial aid if you're receiving financial aid for that semester. Meaning if it's a spring semester and normally you'll receive $4,000 in aid, you'll be able to use that $4,000 when you go abroad. But on top of that, there's many scholarships out there to kind of help finance any trip abroad. You have to do your research, do your homework, but they're out there. And finally, many of my students, they do a GoFundMe. And what that is, if you're not privy, it's a website where you can list what you're trying to do, and you can solicit money from your friends, your family, and even complete strangers to help fund your excursion abroad. And finally, there are other ways to go abroad. You don't have to go through your respective institution to go abroad. For example, we have something called Semester at Sea, where you spend roughly 13 to 14 weeks on a cruise ship, something similar to Royal Caribbean or Carnival Cruise Lines, but not as extravagant. But you're on there, you're going to visit about 14 to 15 countries. And you stay at each country for about 3 or 4 days, and you have an amazing opportunity to learn about the culture of these countries and take classes at the same time. So it's a great opportunity to see the world. How much does it cost? That's going to be around roughly $25,000 per semester. So that is on the more expensive side, but they do offer scholarships and payment plans. We had a couple of students go on this option, and they end up paying $13,000 as opposed to $25,000 due to scholarships. Another opportunity is Hero. If you're interested in the health field in any capacity, Hero might be the option for you. With this program, you go abroad and you help nurses and doctors in third world countries with sick patients. So you get that hands-on and that practical experience. It's almost priceless. With Hero, the cost is not that much because you're really going there to work. So the cost is not as high, but there is a cost. So you should look into that if you're in the health field. If you're more partial to political science and government, then the U.S. Department of State internships have amazing opportunities where you can go abroad and represent the government in certain capacities. So that's an amazing opportunity. It does cost a little bit of money and it's very competitive. However, it's a great opportunity. And finally, you have CET academic programs. This private company has networks throughout the country, throughout the world, where you'll be able to be placed in certain areas depending on your interest. A lot of times they emphasize learning the language and the culture when you go there. For some of their programs, actually, you can speak not one word of a foreign language, and when you come back, they guarantee that you'll speak it fluently. So you guys have many options to go abroad, and I would strongly consider it, especially if the financing is available. So try to keep an open mind and look into the programs that are available for you.